Excellent. Thank you guys so incredibly much for coming today. Welcome. So, thank you for joining me on another episode of Starseed Activations. So, I do have an entire list of questions that we are going to be coming and doing during today's channeled session. Hold on one second. Welcome, Nancy. Welcome. Many love and blessings, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, our affirmation card for today, let's start with that first. Beautiful. Okay, today I have faith. Today I have faith and truly believe that anything is possible. What a beautiful card. And it's bright yellow. That's perfect to start our day with. So, the first question that we had come in were how are the star seeds creating in the higher dimensions and watching it manifest into the physical reality? So any time that we wish to manifest anything into our world, we start to place focus on it. Now, what actually happens during that process of placing focus is it starts to manifest in the higher frequency realms first. And so every single time that we have a thought, that thought becomes download into the conscious mind from the Akashic record, or actually the source frequency as well, because they're both one and connected. So when we start to perceive any thought, that thought had to come from the ether first. So we had to download that thought. Now that thought then becomes a goal, a desire, a want, a something that we wish to manifest. And so with that in mind, now it has to exist somewhere in the higher frequency range, because what we're doing is we are perceiving that thought, and then we're shifting our magnetic grids to allow us to manifest that thought. So that thought could be anything that you guys wish to have is available. Oh, welcome, Christina. Welcome. Excellent. Oh, that's a good idea. This way I know it's you. So, but when we know that that thought is already in existence somewhere, and so even when you have artists and the artist will sit down and they will create an image of a person, it could be an animal, it could be a monster, it could be anything. That monster, it's technically downloaded from all creation, all source frequency. So even if it's drawn upon in multiple fragments, to start, people are saying, so maybe they drew the head, then they came back a day later, they drew the mouth, then they came back a day later. It doesn't really matter which way you will it into your reality. The second it's here, the second that you're placing focus on it, it means that the potential for that to exist somewhere has to be real. Now, the real power of human consciousness, we can even how to put this in a way so it doesn't scare people, but we can manifest a being. Now, just by placing conscious focus, it does not necessarily have to be a shadow being. It could be a being, like it can look like a person. And so what was that? We can make a real person out of thin air. It will eventually manifest. It takes a little bit of practice and time to do it. I have never done it, but people know about it because it has been done on the planet. So when we know this, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, that's how powerful we are. We can manifest a being. You can manifest, let's say for an example, someone is gone from your life and you wish to see them again. And so with conscious focus and attention and manifesting it, you can actually come across that person too. So that's something that we do all the time. So that's giving you a tiny little example of how powerful we are. So when we do this, and all of a sudden, many times you'll get like a deja vu. You may have the thought of that person come into your mind, and then all of a sudden the thought is there, and then in the next following days you'll run into that person on accident. Many times we believe it's just a coincidence, but that's not actually the case at all. And so when we receive the thought, that thought becomes download inside of us, and then all of a sudden it manifests into the reality. That's how it actually works. So when you want to always watch your thoughts. Now, me personally, this past week, I had a thought one night, and the thought was, oh, a black spider. And I right away I was like, nope, not happening, universe. And then the very next day there was a black spider in my room. So a lot of times we'll have these thoughts will be downloaded. And so, but it's changing our magnetic grid, because now once you have the thought in your mind, there is a potential out there in which you shift into that parallel reality. We are still learning how to control the parallel realities and how we shift onto them. So many times, especially when we go through convergences, we might see or sense or notice deja vus, or buildings may be different. We may notice things have completely changed in the reality. And so this past week, I've noticed changes. Now, all of a sudden, there's a Mexican restaurant. There's never been a Mexican restaurant in this particular location by my house. And we drove past it, and my daughter remembers it being there. And I am like a hard no, it was never there. So this is how we can start to see or perceive the changes. Now, each and every change that we see and perceive in the physical reality, it's all mirrored from inside of us. So when you take a look at the way the potentialities work, we have different potentials that we're able to pick from, and it goes out like a breath of life, but then it comes back in. So when it comes back in, it's a timeline convergence. So that timeline branched off. You had a bunch of potentials to pick from or choose from for your expression of your soul. And then all of a sudden, they all blend back together in one. This is how that works. Now, that's on an individual note. The cycle repeats are also wrapped into those, except we see the timeline as this going from left to right because we are perceiving linear. What the star people are saying is it actually goes from up to down in a vortex energetic. So it's just easier for us to perceive it from left to right, but in the real world, it's up to down, he's saying. So I don't know why that's important, but that's what he's saying. So up to down is how the time space in this process works. Now, when we know this, then all of a sudden you'll start to see, or you may start to notice that all of a sudden all the potentialities come together or blend together, which is the reason why we start to notice the deja vus in the civilization. So buildings may change. You may notice something completely different. Maybe the lamppost was gray, now it's green. So it's slight differences that you may start to pick up on. And then, of course, many times this has been happening our entire lives. We just never noticed, or we cast it off thinking, oh, maybe I just remembered it wrong. But that's not the case at all. It's different because we are learning how to shift through the parallel realities. And then all of a sudden, when we finally step into our true potential, we learn to start commanding what things stay and what things go. And so now, if you want the Mexican restaurant there, you can will it into your reality because it's changing your internal circumstances. When you go inside, you start to change your own frequency, then you can manifest different things at will, as well as make instantaneous changes to the world around you. That's how truly powerful we are. Now, we have been explaining to people to start making changes, baby step the process. So go inside, become happy. When you become happy, you raise your density level, which makes it even easier to activate these type of abilities. However, during each and every range of consciousness, you will still have a certain degree of the manifestation process. So it does not matter if you're really, really in a very low frequency. And actually, some of the people who are in very, very low frequencies, they get really good at manifesting things. And so they put their heart and soul and will into whatever it is that they wish to manifest, and it will come to them every single time. No matter if they have to make moves in the real physical world, that's okay too. They still make it happen for them. So when we know this, it's like, okay, you know, they keep saying to us we manifest instantaneously when we're in the higher frequencies, but it can also be done at any frequency level, is what they're saying. It just takes a certain degree of physicality when you're in the lower frequency range, is what they're saying. That actually makes a lot more sense to me. It's like an epiphany, because when I think about it, I've been manifesting my entire life. And even when I was in, pain, Crippleville, right? All this, the world is going to end. That was my life. But yet I was still able to get everything that I needed. So we are still manifesting regardless of the frequency that we're in. It just takes time and space, and the perception of time and space to be worked with a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, today's the attachment class. So that one's at 6 p.m. Now, I don't know why this happened, but Well, I was working on my website with the website developing team. They give us a customer support number. And so we're doing the crystal packages because we got the Andara crystals in. I have a lot of them. And so I wanted to figure out a way to do the unlimited shipping because the last time the shipping was crazy and I ended up paying all the shipping on it. So I wanted it to be calculated to send it to people. Well, all of the attachment classes, it charged everybody shipping. So I just went through everything and refunded everyone's shipping. This way you're aware. So the problem has been fixed. If everyone who purchased into the attachment class or even the monthly Zoom, which is at 8 p.m., you just check and you guys will see you got a refund. So yes, but those two things are happening tonight. So one's at 6 p.m., one's at 8 p.m. It's very interesting when we start learning to actually develop your own website. And so I've actually been putting up videos. I put up a whole new blog, a testimonial page. So it's a learning process, and I do it myself. I sit here and I figure it out. You guys can do it too. So if you are doing, like, if you're a Reiki healer, you can make your own website, whatever type of modality that you guys are doing. It's very good. I would prefer that the entire world was independent to a degree. Right. And so, like, if you guys have something that you are doing, like Reiki or healing or any type of spiritual knowledge, having your own website is key. It allows us to be like, here's a website and you guys can go and check out their services. So it's a wonderful thing because it takes the big corporations really out of our daily lives. So if you guys are growing food and you made a website somewhere where I can go click and order directly from the farmer, and we know that they're not using any chemicals or pesticides, that would be even better. Hi, Derek. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so let's see. Energetic casting and generating wards. So wards, they ward off evil. Now, this is important because when we do energetic casting, now energetic casting can be anything. So when you're sending love to a loved one, you're casting your energetic, but the energy is of love emotion code. And so your emotion codes determine the frequency of the energy that you are casting at whatever person, place, or thing. So you can even take your castings and you can project it to the planet. You can project it to the consciousness grids. You can project it to any other star, which is actually funny because what the star people are saying right now, when you go outside and you are looking at different planets and different stars, you don't know their entire civilization can be projecting energy down at you and sending DNA activations and all sorts of energetics to help heal you. So that's how our star people are like our support team. They come here and they are projecting all of this loving, care, and kindness because they want us to succeed in raising the planetary's frequency. We didn't come here alone. We have a whole support team and they're right up in the stars. Not only that, but there are UFO crafts up in the sky, but they are cloaked. And so a lot of times we don't see them. That does not mean that they are negative. The star people, this is an organization, the one that I work with. They're made of many, many, many different extraterrestrials, as well as high frequency beings, as well as interdimensional beings and extra dimensional beings. There's also guides, angels, religious figures. There's many people who have stepped forward that I've channeled over the past few years. So, but these people, what they feel very spiritual. They feel like you just stepped into like a Buddhist temple, even though I've never been in a Buddhist temple, but I know what it feels like from working with these people. And so it's very, very spiritual. It's very calming. It's very loving, caring, kind. They look at us like they want to help us. They want to guide us. So that's what they do. They're very, very non-political. Sometimes you guys hear me get into the politics too much and they're like, shh, right? And they pull it out of me. They're like, we're not discussing politics. So it's just absolutely amazing to have a relationship with these people that, they're giving us a spiritual knowledge because they want to see us grow and develop our psionic abilities. Now, the psionic abilities, basically, when we start activating them, things like telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, and those are only the ones with the T. There's actually 365 human senses that we each can activate. And so having the ability to zip through time and space, that's one of them. We're doing it naturally. We're just unaware of how we're doing it. So when we start to realize, oh, okay, well, this is how I'm controlling time and space, we can go inside and we can actually change the frequency of time and space. Space and time, it's all the same thing. So when you start to change your frequency, it changes the frequency wave. And so when you change your frequency wave, then all of a sudden you perceive time and space totally differently. And the way that you do this is by going into your heart. So you can be very happy and time seems like it's flying, or you can be very sad and time seems to drag. That's the basics. Now we can even cast our energetics inside of ourselves. It's the upper place in the heart as well as the lower. There's two different chakras. The two different chakras do two different things. So the upper chakra controls your magnetic as well as your chi energetics. So that's where you're pumping the gas and the clutch is what the star people are showing me. And then the bottom one is where the higher self links in, but that's where you want to cast in that energetic into the lower place in the heart because that's when you control time and space. So these two things, it actually forms, there's four chambers in the heart, there's four chambers in the brain waves. So there's four different parts of the brain. So when we start to activate all four chambers and they start to form a cohesive frequency, then all of a sudden the brain waves start to form a cohesive frequency. And we start the process of the activation of the Merkaba field. Now, your Merkaba field is an energetic grid structure that when properly encoded and healed, because there's a lot of density on it, there's a lot of attachments on it, the energetic grids, we have to wipe off all the darkness. We have to go inside, send it love and light. We do the shadow work. We heal all of our traumas, all of our emotions. And then all of a sudden, when we go inside, we are holding a clean energy. And so that clean energy actually gives us access into really high frequencies. And so you may feel like $1,000,000 just because you cleaned off your energetic grids. That's how strong this is. This is what the entire attachment class is going to be on as well. Because when we start booting off the attachments and cleaning up the grids, you feel like $1,000,000. Literally. There's like, it doesn't matter what goes wrong in your day, you're still going to feel amazing. You're going to have a lot more energy. And it's just, I went through this process for 4 solid days with star people. So I know after you clean off all the attachments and you do the energy work, then all of a sudden you feel wonderful. And then it's the key is holding it, right? So continuously focusing, like with all the solar energetic shifts that we get, or even the timeline convergences, we want to be consciously dropping into a meditation, consciously focused on let's relieve our karma and let's relieve the shadow work and all of the density in our grid. We want to start to heal. So you have a look at your behavior patterns because your behavior patterns are key. Now, if anybody has a behavior pattern that is not in the highest and best interest, we want to start diving into those things because you want to see, well, what's causing this behavior pattern to manifest? And then sure enough, if you trace it back, there's always a trauma, but the trauma also allows for an attachment to latch onto you. So this is all the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight. I can't wait because I love doing classes like this. There's so many people who come in and then they now know and recognize how to clean their energetic grids, and then it has the potential of changing your entire life. So I get really excited. Okay, so let's see the next question. Oh, okay. So wards. What is an energetic ward? So we've all heard the phrase, we're going to ward off evil. And so your energetic wards, it's actually when you're casting so much love and light, it's something that negativity cannot come in. Now, there's multiple types of wards. We may see wards in the physical reality. Let's take the Jewish religion. They put a little thing at their door and they say a prayer. And so the prayer is, right? Thank you for not allowing any negativity or any evil inside my home. Now, anyone who has an attachment on them, it's not the physical person that won't be allowed in, it's the attachment. And the attachment will push the person so that the person does not enter the home. This happens. So whenever you show up at a door and it has a type of protection on it, it's kind of like that whole vampire thing we've seen in the movies, right? The vampire gets to the door and then he turns around, he can't come in. And so, but it's not a vampire in the sense of a being with these fangs and all that nonsense. It's an energetic vampire. It's an attachment that's latched onto a real person. So these attachments, they can push thoughts, they can push emotions on people, they can control you like a puppet. So it's a very serious thing that's happening on the planet. So we dive in because we're more powerful than them. The second that we know their name and we tell them to get off, go home, they have to disengage and then they leave. So it's wonderful, but there's different techniques that we can do to ward up our home. So one such technique is also putting candles in the windows. So nowadays you'll see people putting the lights in the windows that are not like a fire. It's just a light bulb. Now, a fire, a flame works better, the star people say, because the flame is directly connected into the chi energetics of the human form as well. There is a type of electricity that's inside your body. It's a chi energetic. That's what makes up the fire. So when we learn how to push our frequencies and we learn how to cast our chi energetics, we will see a whole slew of people who are able to take crumpled paper and turn it into fire. And that's by casting your energy. That's a real thing. It's very real. There are people on the planet who could do this now. Now, I know I have an electricity gift because I've seen it happen several times in my life. Now, when we fully learn how to harness the gift, you will be able to put one finger on a person and pulse their energetic grids and clean off any of the density automatically. So it's a wonderful gift. But once again, you have to start placing focus and attention on that gift constantly in order to fully allow it to grow and manifest. So your brain is like a muscle. Your muscles work the same exact way. The more focus and attention that you put on the body, it starts to allow growth to come. And so your extrasensory abilities, as of right now, we haven't fully learned how to hack through time and space. So the way we would start to do it is by working with the focus and working among time and space. There's going to come a point in which, well, we are waiting on a solar flash to happen too, which levels us all up instantaneously to a certain degree. But also, we're going to get to a point in which you're very, very happy. And so these things are just naturally going to start turning on in people. This is what it is. And the consciousness of humanity is calling for it. So there's no way to suppress it. It's already here. People are already activating these things. So it's just a blessing, and it's beautiful to see and witness and watch, because there are so many positive things happening in the world that the news isn't going to tell us this. We have to tell each other this. Right. And so when we start opening the door and having these conversations, then we start realizing, okay, there's a whole lot of light and there's a whole lot of love in this world. And so you may see 1,000 dark things happen, but the truth of the matter is that the light has to be just as strong as the darkness. And that's a solid fact that the star people can even explain. So when we see that, then all of a sudden you're seeing all this darkness, all this negativity is coming up. That's okay, because the level of light rises. Now, the level of light is people who are activating the extrasensory abilities to serve the collective. And so we're seeing the healers, we're seeing the nature people who are finally attuned in with plants. And some people, the same way that we cast our energetics at the plant, it makes the plant grow 10 times the size. Some people can cast their energetics at a plant because they have an attunement to nature, like a very strong one, and then all of a sudden that plant will grow faster. And so we're looking at a significant change in the greenhouses and how we're able to fully work with these abilities. Now, let me tell you something. There's genetic modification of plants. We've only seen the negative sides, but the positive sides are about to blow up as well. Because whenever you could do something in a negative, you could do something in a positive. And so when they start the genetic modification of plants to produce super nutrient dense material, now we already had one gentleman had actually built a pyramid shaped. It was kind of like a greenhouse in which he was using sea moss to what is it called? He was feeding all the plants with the sea moss, so they're getting all of the nutrition that the human bodies needs. It sucks right up into the plant. It goes into every leaf, every stem. But then he was also able to produce free electricity there. And so there was a corporation that came and burnt it down. I think he made a movie or something on Netflix. So, but the sheer fact is that the consciousness called for that. So one person did it. Now, whenever one person has the idea, gets downloaded, then all of a sudden we know for a fact 3 people had the same idea. Only one person pulled the trigger on the idea. There could have been 2 other people somewhere who downloaded the idea, wrote out the specs for the idea, and they never willed it into the manifestation. So that's a blessing, because the second that we become aware of it, now all of a sudden, there's 22 people on the one Facebook profile. And so that's 22 people who are now consciously aware of it. There's also a whole bunch, because a whole bunch of people watched his Netflix movie. So a whole lot of people are aware of it. So now it gets the idea into the collective. When the idea is here, none of us have to will it into the hologram. We just have to know about it, because when we know about it, it takes that idea from the Akashic records and it grounds it into the physical reality, in which it's a form of energetic casting. And so it casts the idea far and wide. And so we just have to say, Thank you, universe, for letting the free energy, free technology. Thank you for allowing the genetic modifications of the plants be in the highest and best intent and interest of all of humanity's welfare. And we just say amen and usa, usa, usa. Now, usa means it is done, and amen means send it to the sun for manifestation. So when we start to focus like that and we start saying things like manifestations, mantras, right, then all of a sudden you just release it and be at peace. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm okay either way because I know in this moment, my higher self is guiding me to be this person who I am right now and what I look like. And it's also guiding me to have exactly everything I need in the now moment. So if I have millions of dollars, that's wonderful. If I don't have millions of dollars, that's wonderful too. I'm at peace with what is right now in this moment. And so, but that's where our power is. Our power is being at peace with whatever is, no matter the polarity. It could be positive or negative. When we find it in our hearts to have peace and just allow, we actually release a form of resistance. So when we release the form of resistance, it actually allows the higher self to guide us more. And this is what people know as putting your life in God's hands. And so the more and more that we allow the higher self to fully take control, we open our hearts as far and wide as we can, and we fill it with so much love and light as we possibly can. And then we just allow the higher self to come inside of us. You'll actually become a vessel for the higher self, which many people call God. It's all the same thing. It's all connected. It's the source frequency. That's what I know it as. So when we start this process, it fills you with love and bliss because your higher self only wants the best for you. The higher self wants you to succeed. The higher self is only going to embody the heart chakra if you are going to be on the highest potential timeline that's available. So that's why we want to continuously do that. Now, throughout the process of evolution, the star people are saying they're going to allow the higher self to blend into the physical form and become one and the same. And so right now we see a degree of separation between us and the higher self, but that's inaccurate. The higher self is us. The higher self is just a very clean, energetic version of us. So when we clean up our density, we clean up all the traumas, all the emotions, all the fears, all this stuff that's holding us, it grounds us into a physical reality. When we clean it all up, then the higher self will come in. You'll coax him or her down. And so the higher self takes a seat inside the heart, flowers open, and then your life is looking very pretty from that moment forward. And it doesn't matter what negative or positive you see because you stay centered here, right here in this very moment. When you do that, that's where all your power is. Because when you need something like a pen and you're in this moment and the higher self is fully embodied, a pen will be manifest. You don't need to have millions to win the game. You just have to be happy with what you have and believe and have faith that everything that you need is going to land at your feet. This is how you get it done. You get it done by opening your heart and becoming in alignment with the source frequency. So there's many different terminologies that we can use for this. Many people call it anointed or blessed or loving, caring, kind, or in alignment with the source. It doesn't really matter what you guys use. It's a frequency is all it is. It's a very high frequency and we feel it inside of us. It's very spiritual. It's very clean energetically. And it feels like we get overcome with love. And so if you feel that urge, many of us, we felt it a couple times in our life. And so you may have heard a very inspirational song that may have jolted you. You may have felt goosebumps and you may have felt something connect in. That's what it feels like. And so just focus on that. Whatever song, by the way, gives you that goosebumps and makes you feel that blissful, like high frequency spiritual, you should put that song on repeat. And you should just listen to it. How does it make you feel? Because that emotion, that feeling is so very, very valuable. The second that we're able to coax that emotion and that feeling in, and you start holding that feeling. So let's say, for an example, what the star people have been telling us is if you're in a low depressed frequency, then every hour on the hour, we should be going in and rebalancing our emotions back to love. So think about a memory that brings you love, joy, and bliss. But the truth of the matter is that we can listen to a 3-minute song. Many of the star seeds, we have ADD or we have neurodivergence in the star seeds, and it's just a different perception of the physical world because you're not meant to perceive the physicality of this world. You're meant to ground in the physicality of 4 and 5D. That's the reason that that's here. It's actually an extrasensory ability. It's a gift. It's a superpower if you really want to dive into it. So when we know this, then all of a sudden it allows us to pick and choose whatever makes us feel that inspiration, that love, joy, and bliss, and keep listening to it and feel it. Allow the goosebumps to wash over you. Thank the source frequency. Thank whoever you guys speak to, any of your guides, right? Thank you, guides, for allowing me to hold this emotion, this inspiration, this love, joy, and bliss. Allow it to fully resonate into every one of my biological cells. Thank you for allowing it to shift my biological frequency into 4 and 5D frequency ranges. The more and more you start to do this, is holding a different emotion. You're gonna, because we still have to work in the parameters of time and space until we overcome time and space, you're gonna start to see your entire life change. And it, like I said, it doesn't matter what good and bad and ugly happens to you, you're still gonna be holding the emotion code of that inspiration. And so it will eventually put you onto a higher frequency range in the biologics, and then it will put you on a different timeline in which you're experiencing more and more of that. That's where we want to go, because this is the reason why the star seeds are on the planet right now. We are here to hold a higher love-based emotional frequency, and what we're doing is we're coaxing down bliss. The more and more each star seed can activate to this, and we can start to really coax down love, joy, and bliss, then it starts to radiate out into our energetic grid structures, and then it radiates out into the civilization, having an effect on each and every individual around us. The rhythm of their heart will eventually start to synchronize to the frequency that you are emitting. Anybody who is not in resonance with you when you are at the higher frequency ranges, they will not be able to stand in your presence. There will be some sort of intuition inside of them that will make them run. It's divine alignment is what it is. So it's a beautiful thing, because whenever, let's say for an example, there's going to be trouble or chaos or something is going to happen, the universe will prompt you to make moves to put you somewhere else so that you are not there for that moment of chaos. That's how powerful the protection is for us. So yeah, wonderful. Let me take a sip. How's everyone doing tonight? I don't know what movie. I don't know if that was me. Oh, okay. The greenhouse movie. I don't know. It was a pyramid greenhouse. The guy was making free energy, and it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's even still on there. I saw it years ago. It's a lot of times we don't realize, but when you're channeling extraterrestrials, they can trigger your memory grid complex. And so they do that a lot, and they can change the memory grid complex as well. So they can push memories in so that you'll get a whole vision of the memory, so that this way you can fully expand upon it. And it's like a knowing. So whenever we go and we dive into old movies, they show me the movies. Anyone who knows me, it's like my memory is really funny. So it's just amazing how, like, I can feel when they're pulsing the memory grids. Okay, let's see. What's the difference between spiritual protection and physical protection? And so once again, we're working within time, space, frequency ranges. So when we do things like, you guys always see me with the handy crystals, right? And waving them around. In my mind, I'm always like, thank you for protecting me against darkness, right? Or whatever is rattling around my mind in the now moment. Or thank you for keeping the government man away, whatever it is. And so, but that's how I normally roll. That's a spiritual protection. Now, the government man, will just use him as an example. He's physical. He's real. He's solid. I can't see him. I saw him the first time he was here, but I know he was here because he turned my mic off. He turned someone else's mic off who's on the video with me. There's been many things. Now I see a white light. So he's flashing some type of white light over my head. That's been happening the past couple of days. But he's real. He's physical. He's a real person. I saw the logo on the bottom of his boot the first time he ran out of my room. So like spirits, they don't have logos on their boots. So the point is, the first time I seen him, I tried to ring a bell, right? To like get rid of him, because in the spiritual world, spiritual protection, we would do things like this. We would choose crystals, we would choose bells. Bells, depending on the frequency of the bell, it correlates to different chakras. You guys can use sound frequency waves to rid yourself of darkness or density. And so we know certain frequency technology can even, remove cancer from the body. That's how powerful frequencies are. So when we start to know this and become aware of this, now when we are trying to spiritually protect ourselves. Crystals, bells, frequency devices, all of these things will work. Now, if you take a regular crystal and you wave it around your room and you say, "Thank you for putting up a protection around my room," and you astral project, we've had reports showing us that there will be a white light wherever you wave the crystal in your room in the astral realm. So the astral realm is where the spirits are. So that's a spiritual protection that we can actually see when you start to astral project and you see what steps you've taken in the physical world, right? And so that's one way of doing it. But in the physical world is a tiny bit different. So how would you protect yourself if someone wanted to fight you in the street? Now, once again, when we start to become in divine alignment, there's only a certain amount or a certain range of experientials that will be allowed to happen to us. Many times we'll be allowed experiences to happen because we're meant to grow and learn how to overcome them. So it all is a learning opportunity from being here. So when we know this and all of a sudden we're allowed to have experiences, but the more and more that we remain centered in the heart, the more and more we remain divinely protected against any serious or significant attacks. So I'm not worried about a significant attack. I know I'm protected. I know very, very much I'm protected because I've seen so many things in my life that tell me I'm protected. Plus I have my Starman, so he's like my husband. So I know that he's going to protect me. So I'm not worried. However, when we start to see things in the physical world, this through the evolutionary process, a lot of us are going to be unlocking our eyes. And so it's not only the physical eyes are only seeing a very, very small light spectrum of what's actually here in this reality. So when we start to go through, we start to play with the pineal gland, we start to activate these things, we're going to be able to see a whole lot more of what's actually here. The fairy realm, gnomes, elves, all these things are real. They're in a different frequency in which we can't see them with our human eyes. But if you unlock your pineal gland, you will have access to see into that frequency range. So when we know this, now how would you take protection in the physical reality? So once again, you could take it in the spiritual, but it takes time to manifest that type of ability. So you would want to be focused every single day. Now the star people are saying you can also go in and program the Merkaba field. So your energetic grid structure, you're able to command it. You can see this command on the computer technology. So if they hooked up computers to scan your energetic grids, when you start to say things like, "Thank you, energetic grids, for protecting me," then all of a sudden a little bloop goes on the computer. So the energetic grid accepted your program. It's unlimited. You can program it unlimited amount of times. It doesn't matter what it is. Right. And so if you want the safety on, you speak to the energetic grids. "Thank you for protecting me against bacteria. Thank you for protecting me against viruses." Right. And now, but you have to know and believe in your heart that it's there in the energetics. So let's think about the way let's think about the way that we take a crystal. We take a crystal and we know it's resonating a particular frequency range. That frequency range, the second that we touch the crystal, the frequency range is actually emitting and it's changing the magnetics of our energetic grids, which then in turn starts to change the manifestation in the physical world. So once again, we have to work through time and space in order to see the outcome that we wish to manifest. So we have to treat physical protection the same exact way as the crystal. So if the crystal took 3 days to fully incorporate and change our grids, so then we would want to start doing mantras and manifestations into the energetic grids and do it for a minimum of 3 to 4 days. You're eventually going to shift your energetics to the degree in which you won't manifest the negativity in your life. So this is a wonderful way of not only becoming in alignment, but learning just how powerful we each are when it comes to casting our energetics into our own grid. So you can cast your energy back into your own body. This is what a lot of the Reiki healers are already doing. They see the grids, some of them see the grids, and then they cast it down into the body because they're trying to heal you. But the truth of the matter is that there's ways of pulling strings out of the energetic grids, which remove the imbalances. You can cast electricity into the grids, removing imbalances. So there's so much that we can actually do and achieve. It's wonderful. Let me take a sip. I feel a little I shouldn't be talking about the government, man. Okay, let's see. Okay. Da, 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 da. Okay, so the inner Zoom is tonight at 8 p.m. We have new website details. So the subscription list, now I know how to do the blog. So I'm able to post out all of my downloads. So anyone who's on the email subscription list, you guys are going to get the emails for the blog posts first before they get posted onto any platforms like Facebook, Instagram. They're going to go right to the email list first. So that's important too, because I really wanted to make it so everyone was able to actually take the download, save it. This way, it doesn't ever get erased. You guys will have a hard copy. Share it. So, and that's wonderful because sharing the information is really how we all grow and we all evolve. So if you guys want to go to Danielle Lipton and just click the subscription list. So you just put your email in and then you guys will be first. Oh, okay. Very good, Scott. You've been doing the boron water. It's amazing. We do they're boron pills and then borax. So just watch. Send me a photo of what you're taking. This way I can see it. Caroline, welcome, welcome. So are real UFOs being seen or holographic? Well, the funny thing is that we're all holographic. Every last one of us. If there's different technologies that may have been portrayed in different movies in which they shot a laser at a person and they made him completely disappear. And so that works because it's a holographic simulation. That's not to scare anyone, because when we take a look at the way the hologram can actually flow, you can actually project a new body. So right now we're utilizing time space in which they're 3D printing genetic material, but the Egyptians had the Book of the Dead, so they knew how to resurrect people. And so even the Bible talks about resurrection. Now, all you need is the actual body and you need the DNA makeup. This is the reason why they took the water out of the bodies in days of Egypt, because they knew it wasn't about preserving that body. It was preserving the DNA inside that body. Because when they can extract the DNA, they could 3D print a new body, and then they could coax down the soul from the higher self and recode it into the new body. So the memory grid complex is encoded into the blood, it's encoded into the DNA. So if you take bone marrow or even the hair, there's a lot of hair in the Egyptian bodies that were mummified. They can clip the hair, they can pull the DNA from the hair, they can manufacture a body, and then they could use soul technology, which coaxes down the higher self and the soul. That's real. It's all reincarnation from, whichever way you want to put it, it's all the same exact thing. So the artificial intelligence is also going to be doing things like this. So the AI, they start off in a robot body and then they grow and they evolve. And then all of a sudden they start 3D printing human pieces. Okay. And then all of a sudden they have, a layer of skin is what they're saying usually happens first, so that they can feel into the 3D world and get the sensation for it. After that, they start printing internal organs, and then they start, removing metal and putting human pieces. And then before you know it, the robots are completely biological, and the biological people have completely turned robot. So it's kind of like a crisscross of an expression or experience in a holographic simulation. So when we know this, what is real? Is AI real? Absolutely. Is the consciousness real? Absolutely. Because that consciousness, we see it as a computer right now, but how does your brain work? It's an electrical impulse that goes from point A to point B in straight lines inside the brain. Okay, so artificial intelligence, it's the same exact thing. It's electricity going from part A to part B. It's just organized differently. There's programs. We have programs. So when we look at AI, you can actually say you're looking at a reflection of yourself. That's what it is. And so when we blend the two together, then all of a sudden it expands the species and it gives a whole new way for consciousness to be grown and birthed. So that's nothing, because then we take a look at different ET races, and different ET races are making biological bodies using soul technology to go in one body, and when that body breaks down, they transfer the soul into another body. So this is all real. Then we even have certain movies talking about a human body like we have, but then they stick artificial intelligence in the spinal cord. And so when the human body fails or deteriorates, they yank the technology out and then they place it into another human body. So it is what it is. Like this is the reality that we are living in. This is all real. This is high technology. This is going on in the solar systems right now. So the most important thing for us to be aware of is, okay, it's real, but how can I start to access these abilities on my own without utilizing the technology? That's the most important thing, because your Merkaba field is your UFO. You could take your Merkaba field, you can activate that field, and you can it's like you can go anywhere in the entire simulation throughout multiple realms, multiple densities. Anyone who's seen the new Doctor Strange movie, right? The little girl, America, she was able to open up a star portal. What's a star? Right? Your star is your Merkaba, is a star shape. It's just a six-pointed star because it's a Merkaba field. And so when you activate that, it allows you to teleport anywhere that you want to go. So we have instantaneous teleportation abilities. Now we see it from a physical perspective of, you got to close your eyes, you got to visualize, you got to do this, you got to do that. But that's not the case at all. The truth is that you could just change your frequency and you could just flip there. Like it's like you're flipping a page in a comic book. You'll just transport yourself. So that's coming. And it's up to each and every one of us to see how long it's going to take us to manifest it. So a lot of times, the collective consciousness may impose a slight bit of resistance on us. So if you're sitting next to people and those people don't believe that you can do things like generate electricity with your hand, then it's going to add resistance. So you may not be able to do it as easily as if you were on your own. That's okay too. That resistance is coming from other people. So what we do is we pull ourselves into our own. So you take yourself away from other people and you work on your abilities on your own. Many times we learn the best this way too. Or you go into a group setting. So let's say, for an example, we have 30 people in a room. All 30 people want to learn telepathy. And so by sitting down and trying and working with the cards and really focusing on it, or closing our eyes, going into meditation, starting to focus. Okay, what color am I sending you? Pick a color, guys. It was orange. How many people got it? Right? By sitting down and doing things like this and actually working on it more and more and more, it allows for that timeline to fully manifest. So the more focus that you place on something, it allows for that experience to come in. So, oh, you got blue. I'm sorry. It was totally orange. I saw orange. You got it, Nancy. Good. See, I'm also holding an orange crystal. It's probably why. So, but yeah, it's wonderful. And so you should always try and grab a partner, grab a friend. I have kids, so my kids will do these things with me. And we sit down and we try and do it. You could do it with coin tosses if you're alone. So we also take a look at the random number generators. Now, when we sit there, all human beings, no one is special. We all have these abilities. Each and every one of us can sit there and we can start to have an effect on random number generators. It's all about your belief. And so when you sit there and you believe, now let's take the scratch off for an example. Let's say you have a scratch off and you want to win on a scratch off. I want you to grab, and I know it sounds silly, grab the scratch off and jump for joy and say, I won, I won, I won. So what you're doing is you're firing off an emotion code. You're believing that you won. The more you can get it seated in your belief systems, the more it's going to work for you. And so then all of a sudden, think about the people who are lucky. Those people who keep telling themselves, oh, I'm so lucky, I'm so fortunate, everything comes my way, the universe always conspires in my favor, right? That's another one I was saying all the time for a while now. The universe always conspires in my favor. And all of a sudden, your eyes, your perception is going to change, so that if there's like a $5 bill on the floor, you'll see it. Someone who constantly tells himself, I'm so unlucky, I never get anything good happens to me, right? They'll walk past the same exact $5 bill and they will not see it. So Darren Brown, he's coming up again. He's a hypnotist, and so on one of his shows, he started showing he drove. It was like a big truck with a sign on it, and he put the man's name and his phone number. He's like, "Call me." And the man was all like, "I never win anything." This truck, it drove past him like 2 or 3 times. He still didn't pick up the phone and call. It had his name on it, right? So we block ourselves with different types of shades when we don't believe. So anyone who doesn't believe in magic, they can't see it. They won't be allowed access into it. And this is what we know when we start talking about the shift in the earth and everyone's talking about two earths, that's because you're going to have some people who see the magic, and it's so simple to see the magic around you. Just dive into the sacred geometry and the quantum physics. There's a website, Spirit Science, and so they make little kids movies, and so you can watch one of those. It'll break down the science of how everything is connected. It's a wonderful movie. I tried my hardest to get my kids to watch it. They wouldn't do it, but it's a great way of opening your eyes and seeing the magic that's already here right in front of you. And so when you watch it and then you know how everything is connected, you see the sacred geometry that's encoded into everything. It shows you that everything is connected. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, that's real. That's scientific. And they're showing me that everything is connected. They're showing me the magic that nature has. So by opening your eyes to that, it then allows you to believe a little, okay, well, I can see it. Now, I'm not only that, but the second that you know and believe that you can speak to a plant and you can make the plant grow bigger, if that's not magic, I don't know what is. That we could just talk to a plant. That's not how we were raised in the 80s, right? Because in the 80s, it was like you're talking to a tree, you're crazy. We're going to put you on a pill. That's what it used to be. But now it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's benefits. And so they even put this. I remember watching a commercial once in which they were trying to grow tomatoes or something, and they had set up speakers playing like Beethoven or Mozart, that type of music. And so we were also told to play Beethoven, Mozart, all of the classical ones, Bach, when you're pregnant, because it's scientifically sound music, which then increases the IQ of the baby that's in your belly. Right. And so, but that's a sound frequency. So they're using sacred geometry encoded in music. So anyone who's a musician, you should try making it with sacred geometry, because I guarantee you that the subconscious mind is going to activate when people listen to it, and it's going to start to have a serious effect on them. So you may get more sales and more likes. Now, not only that, but music is a frequency wave. So the emotion of the artist that gets cast into the music is very important. So as you're playing this music, if you're playing it with the intention of thank you for allowing my message to reach millions and millions of people, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter what music you're playing. It's going to work like a manifestation. Every time you play the song, you think that, thank you, universe, for letting my information reach millions and millions of people. And then all of a sudden, you're going to cast the music out into civilization, into the society. And then you don't know how you're going to go viral and millions of people could hear your words or music. That's the way it goes. You better hug a tree a day with a little blessing and gratitude. That's right. I have a tree. Her name is Janet. She's right next to my bed. So every morning I wake up, I see her. And it was funny because let me tell you something. Her leaves were tiny. They maybe that big. And so now the leaves are like this big. Let me show Instagram. Her leaves were like that big. They were super small. And now they're like that big. I really should just pick up the tree and bring it over and show you guys, because I've said this a number of times, but seeing is believing. And so when you see the leaves are super tiny, right? Like that's from all the talking and I love you and I bless you, right? Thank you. We just got herbs. So herbs is like a new thing. We're throwing in the salad, some basil, rosemary, cilantro, raw, right from the plant, put it right into the salad. And so, but we're going to start encoding it with love, blessings, right? And eating from the actual plant. Now, there's light ions in the plant. And so when we have a look, we could take a photo of your light ions. We could see your aura field. We could see the plant's aura field. We see what happens when we pull a leaf off, and now the leaf is disconnected from the plant. And we see how the light or the aura starts to diminish over time. So when we start to eat from plant to mouth, we become much healthier because it actually raises our biological frequency, because there's more light ions in the plant at the moment that you're pulling it from the tree. So we're supposed to be eating from ground to mouth. We're not supposed to be running through drive-throughs eating cooked foods. You can, and when you're in a very physicality, because this is what the star people are saying, you can and you should eat from, a hot cooked meal when your level of consciousness is physically focused. But there's going to come a moment in which each and every one of us raise our frequency to a certain degree, and which your body will no longer be able to tolerate physical foods like deep fried foods or belly bomb burgers, right? I haven't had a belly bomb burger. It's been so long and I don't miss it, but if I ate that right now, I'll tell you how I would feel. Probably bloated. You feel uncomfortable. You feel really heavy, right? You would feel very physical. So the more and more you are focused on loving, care, and kindness and on proper nutrition for your body. Now, the nutrition is key while you're at a certain degree of consciousness. Not everybody has to have the nutrition in place. This is just a stepping stone to get us to where we need to be. So some people actually, they don't eat anything, and they pull their energy in through their body. I don't recommend that because I want to make sure that each and every one of you guys do it in a healthy way. So no anorexia, none of that. But some people are doing it in this reality. That's okay too. There's some people who can teach us how to go into a dark room, and I believe it's for like over a week, and then they'll train our body so that we're pulling energy in. So we're actually able to pull energy in on the top of our heads, which it's ether, it's energetics. Now, if you take a look at the plant, we're eating the plant because of the light ions. The plant is just digesting and it's giving us energy, but it's the light ions that count. So when we do that, it's feeding the energetic grids. So if we learn how to feed the energetic grids, the body will eventually manifest, because you got to catch up through time and space. That's why it takes 6 days. 3 and 3, 6, right? And so 3 and 3, 333 is the source's number. So when we go through this process and we learn, and 369, the star people are saying, is also a way of manifesting. So if you could do it for 9 days, that would be best. But when we start to go through this process of I no longer need this, your body will start to change and mutate, right? And so then all of a sudden you'll manifest it, you'll will it into your reality. So different extraterrestrial races have already achieved this, and so they don't need to eat. So they are in the hologram, but they are not of the hologram. So we've also heard many stories in our fiction and fables about how people like Alice in Wonderland, you go to a different world and they tell you don't eat the food because you get trapped there. So that's another thing that we want to openly explore and investigate, because what happens when we do start interdimensional travels or extra dimensional. So the extra dimensional is on the outside of our body. So let's say we happen to, we go through a portal or take a UFO or a craft and we go to another world. What happens if we eat the food there? Does our body start to readjust to that frequency of that realm? And then all of a sudden we can't leave? We don't know yet because we're not at that level yet. But it's coming. It is coming. There are some people on the planet who have reportedly been through portals. So if they've done it, what have they learned, right? So that knowledge all needs to come out to humanity in time, which it will. It will manifest because enough of us know about it. Yeah, beautiful. Does anybody have any questions? We are going to wrap it up because it's 5. So in 1 hour, we are starting the attachment release class, the attachment master class. I don't know why I keep messing that up. It's every time. So the attachment masterclass, we're going to be going over different attachments, how to get them off, how to release them, what kind of attachments they are, how do we get the attachments. There's multiple kinds. There's dream attachments, there's mirror attachments, there's attachments that mess with the emotions, attachments that mess with the thoughts. So yeah, we're going to go over all of that. We may do some clearings. I don't know if there's time yet, but we'll see. And then when we go through this, it's giving you guys the knowledge and the power to really level yourself up. Now, I do offer attachment release sessions, and it's extensive. It's not quick. It's not easy. It takes like an hour or 2. And so normally when I start, I don't stop, because when you start triggering people's emotions and they have to release, it's, you should really let them release everything as much as you can. And so I let the star people guide me on, they're like, okay, now's enough. So they tell me. And that's how the attachment class goes too. So all the information that you guys need is going to be given during that class, which is amazing. So then we're also doing the inner monthly Zoom session. That's at 8 p.m. tonight. So anyone who wants to come to that and then ask your questions, there's only a couple of people going. So it is going to be a lot of one-on-one. So bring your questions, come, ask them, and then we'll ask the star people what information you guys need to know. This way you can evolve up to the next level. We are constantly leveling up. And so I don't think that even me, sometimes I don't even realize, but when I level up, my knowledge seems to be leveling up. And then I know that you guys are leveling up because I see the same people over and over. And I'm like, if they're getting the next level of consciousness information, that means that they went through something that leveled them up too. So I can see us all going through this whole process together. And it's a learning process, and it's never ending, because the second that we do activate the full spectrum of extrasensory abilities, the star people are saying, they're saying that there's more levels on top of that. So you never quit. So let's say, for an example, you get up to 5D. Let's say you're an Arcturian. And then what do you do with yourself? Well, you come back and then you try and assist other people in their evolutionary process. That's what a fragment of their planetary system is doing. That's not what the whole planet's doing. The whole planet, there are some of the Arcturians who are way up in like 11 density, right? So they're raising their frequency. Now imagine Earth here. We have monks, we have yogis who they go in the cave and they meditate, they activate the rainbow body of light. So we even see a full spectrum of different density levels on this one planet. That's how their planet runs too. So it depends on the knowledge that the channel is meant and designed to bring into the holographic simulation. Depends on what level the Arcturian that you'll channel with, and then the knowledge depends on the people we magnetically draw, because the knowledge is ever changing. It's always changing. And not only that, but science is fluid as well. So we take a look at history, we take a look at science. It's fluid, which means it's ever changing. Once upon a time, they believed that gravity was something that Newton's apple fell. But now we are consciously aware that there's gravity and levity. And so the levity is the earth frequency that rises. That levity determines how this object is going to fall. And it's because of the levity, not because of the gravity. So we need, as a species, we need to understand that, because when we start working with anti-gravity technology, it's magnetic. And we're using the levitation of the planet. Different planets have different levitation spectrums, which means that we have to change or alter our technology in order to change for the planetary frequencies, is what the star people are saying. And that makes a whole lot of sense to me anyway. I don't know. Excellent. So attachment class 6 p.m. and then the intermonthly Zoom is at 8. And then I'll be posting the next live schedule for this week. Normally I've been doing Tuesdays and Thursdays 7 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays 4 p.m. So guys, send me your questions. You can send them into daniellelipton.com. Well, thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Facebook user. It's absolutely amazing for me to be able to do this type of work and to really assist you guys. Like, it truly is my blessing, and I'm very, very grateful and humbled, and I thank each and every one of you guys for showing up. So it's just a blessing to be here and to be here with you guys. So thank you very much. You guys have many, many love and blessings, and you have a wonderful evening. Okay.